Brad Pitt is returning to World War II in an historic drama, plus a family-friendly Halloween show opening this weekend. Devin D. O'Leary of the weekly Alibi. It's not the only ones that we got one more that we're going to be talking about this morning. But first, let's start off with a big one. I'm really excited about it. Again, Brad Pitt starring in Fury. Let's take a look.
If you think it can't get worse, it can, and it will. The dying's not done. The killing's not done. I promised my crew a long time ago I'd keep them alive.
All right, so this one a little different than his last WW2 flick, Inglourious Basterds.
Yes.
Let's talk about Fury.
Well, it's set during the kind of last days of World War II. It's about a 5-man tank crew that gets stuck behind enemy lines. They're outnumbered, they're outgunned, and they're just all sort of fighting for survival. Pitt does an amazing job. It's a really good cast. This comes to us from the guy who did End of Watch and Training Day. A couple pretty hardcore cop films. So that gives you some idea of what this film is like.
It's a lot more grit to it.
It's a lot grittier. It's dark, but it's a little more serious, a little more realistic. And it's kind of a portrait, there's lots of action, but it's kind of a portrait of what life is like in sort of one big 24-hour period of this group of guys trying to survive, trying to stay alive. Great acting. And you know, it's been a long time since we had a good tank movie. Who doesn't like tanks?
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Plus, it's got, just a side note, John Bernthal, he is in this, and of course, Walking Dead fans remember him as Shane.
Yes.
So very excited to see this great cast going on.
Shia LaBeouf is in it as well.
Shia LaBeouf. Is this, you think this one's going to be an Oscar contender? Is this one going to get some
I think
award
it
buzz?
could be. I mean, there's some great technical stuff in it. There's some really good performances. I think it always depends on how it does at the box office, but I think it's a really solid film.
Okay, fantastic. Well, also opening up this weekend, if you have little ones that are wanting to get out and enjoy some Halloween fare, we've got a really cool new movie opening, The Book of Life. Let's take a look.
Follow me. You need to see something special. All the world is made of stories, and all of those stories are right here in the Book of Life.
All right, so let's talk about this one. Obviously, my first thought was, oh, cool, another Nightmare Before Christmas kind of deal.
A little bit.
Yeah, so let's talk about this film.
Well, if you look at it, you can see it's got a certain kind of flavor to it. It's really based on Mexico and the Day of the Dead celebration. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh,
who
very
did
cool.
Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth, a lot of really great horror films. And this is kind of an all-ages cartoon that looks a little bit like a stop-motion film. It's got beautiful textures, and it really embraces that whole culture of Mexico. It's kind of a love story about two guys who fall in love with the same girl and are sort of competing for her. One is a musician and one is a soldier, and there's some bandits and there's some gods and demons running around. It's a little complicated, but I think for slightly older kids, it's gorgeous, gorgeous film. One of the most beautiful films you'll see this year.
Fantastic. All right, and of course, last but not least, Nicholas Sparks fans, very happy about this. The creator of The Notebook has the new adaptation of the novel, The Best of Me, coming out this weekend. Let's take a look.
You don't know how to flirt, do you?
Guess not.
Well, what are you gonna do about it?
All right, so let's talk about this film.
Well, obviously it's Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks has a huge following thanks to The Notebook and Message in a Bottle, a huge string of films. This one is pretty much Nicholas Sparks. It's about a couple who gets together but then breaks up under tragic circumstances, and then decades later they reunite and fight to be together, and there's kissing in the rain and rowboats and sunsets. You know, this one I think comes at the tail end of a lot of what he's doing. You'll notice that this is not coming out on Valentine's Day, which I think says a little bit something about this. It's got a decent cast, Michelle Monaghan, James Marsden, who are actors.
Yeah.
Not, you know,
They're actors.
They're not the biggest names you could throw into this kind of thing. I don't think there's a whole ton of chemistry, and I think the formula may be a little thin. They kind of maybe have gone down the list of books now at this point. If you were a huge fan of the original book, I think you might appreciate it. But again, since this is coming out on Halloween and not Valentine's Day,
Different feel to it.
a little bit different feel.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's going to be as big as The Notebook said.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, for a full recap of all the movies opening this weekend, what is already playing in theaters, what's going on the boob tube, pick up one of these, Alibi, or head over to thealibi.com, which we, of course, will have links at casa.com under the Style tab. For now, let's head back into the studio with Brittany.